Hi everyone, Nigel Saunders here. You may not recognize this tree because I barely recognize it. This is my Dawn Redwood seedling that I did a bit of root work on last year, put it in a new pot, and it's grown a lot over the summer. Let's go back in time to February of this year, and I'll show you what this looked like way back then. Tree number 2 is my Dawn Redwood tree. And you can see it's just starting to burst out with green buds. I'll show you a close-up of that. So here is a look at the activity on the tree. You can see the buds are just starting to pop out. So there, I've got it bare rooted now. So here is a look at my root system. So you can see it has one big taproot that goes down, and off of that taproot is a lot of roots. So with a tree like this, my first step is to reduce the taproot, and I generally go in about half. So I'm going to prune it off right here. So here I go. Big little cut. Oh, there's some leaves in here. And then I'm just going to trim these roots back in size a bit. Like that. And that will be it. That's about all the root pruning I would do on a young seedling like this at this stage. And my Dawn Redwood is all ready to grow for the summer. Here is a look at the tree today. So it's gone from that little tiny seedling into a fairly large tree. My intention was to grow this tree as small as possible and try and capture all the characteristics of a mature Dawn Redwood in a miniature tree. So I'm not sure if I've succeeded, if I should have pruned it halfway through summer. Yeah, I'm not used to having trees grow this quickly in one season. The bald cypress kind of did the same, but yeah, this is a very fast growing species. So today I want to prune it, getting it back to a more miniature looking tree, so it doesn't just keep growing bigger and bigger every year. There is all kinds of buds the leaves are falling off. There is all kinds of buds all over the tree and branches. So there's lots of places to prune it back to. I'll have to determine, where along the trunk line I want to cut it back to, how tall I want the tree. And then I'll grow a new leader that will take over as the top of the tree. I want to keep as many branches on it as possible because the Dawn Redwood, on a mature one, they grow these live veins going up the trunk of the tree, and they kind of grow around the branches and create this really cool looking trunk. I'll take you on a trip. There's a Dawn Redwood, quite a mature one, that's only a couple of blocks away from where I live. So I'll show you that. I'll show you the trunk. And those are all the characteristics that I'm trying to capture in this miniature tree. That's my goal. So let's go see that tree now. So here is the Dawn Redwood at the end of the street here. So let's have a close-up look at it. Here's an overall look at the tree. So it's conical shape, but a bit of a rounded crown on it, which is interesting. This one is getting quite mature. Here's a look at the base of the tree. So there's those live veins I was talking about. You can see the distinct veins that connect the roots that run up the trunk and up to the top of the tree. And here you can see how there's a branch here, and the two live veins come up and they go around the branch. And then they reconnect up here and continue to go up. So yeah, you can see there's some thicker live veins here and over here. They're almost rounded. It looks like a fusion tree, but it's not. And the branches, they extend out quite far. They're wide spreading trees. Yeah, so that's a look at all those muscular kind of live veins on it. You can see there's a branch that's being pruned off here. Hollow in here.
Yeah, old trees. There's some growth, some new growth coming off of old wood here. So this tree has a little more green on it than my one. My one's kind of totally in fall colors. There's another good look at those muscular veins going up the tree. So that's why I want to keep lower branches, to get this interesting flow happening on the trunk. So these live veins grow around the branches. I think it makes the tree really, really interesting. You know, rather than just a plain trunk. I think it would look much, much better. The interesting thing about the branches is that the live veins of the branches go deep within the tree. So there must be a live strip down the middle of the tree connected to a root, and then these, you know, living veins kind of grow around it. They almost, you know, wrap around the existing living part, so it's always kind of expanding and growing. Here's another look at the canopy of the tree, kind of from the side. Yeah, it's a very interesting tree. Beautiful leaves, beautiful fall colors, and a beautiful trunk structure and branches. Yeah, so I'm quite excited to grow one as a bonsai. I've always wanted one. I just never got around to it till now. Here's another distant view of the tree that shows the proportions, the height versus the width. So there's a few kind of multi-trunks forming the canopy. So the branches start kind of on an angle like this, the lowest ones. And then as it goes up the tree, they get more upright. And then the crown is formed with vertical branches. So I'll try and duplicate that also. Here is a distant view of the tree. So I'd say it's about almost as wide as it is tall. It's quite a wide spreading tree, this one. Yeah, it's absolutely beautiful. The trunk, the branches. Yeah, just a wonderful, wonderful tree. We go from the giant tree at the end of the street to my bonsai version. So one thing I've noticed, you know, the lower branches, you can see how skinny they are. And then as you go up the tree, they get thicker and thicker. So these trees are very, you know, apex dominant. All the strength and vigor goes into growing them tall and straight. So I need to prune all the upper branches back quite hard, and I probably won't touch the lower branches. And one thing I noticed in the lower branches is they're like ladder branches. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 branches kind of all in a row, one above the other. I've got a few out the back here, which is good, but not a lot on this side. There's one lower one. So I'll have to sort those out. I'll have to do a bit of selection there. I can't have like that ladder of branches there. I'm going to start the pruning now. So I do want, just like on that full-size tree, it had some length of trunk before it had its first branch. So, but I don't have to do that. I've seen some. There's one at Niagara Falls that had a low branch coming out just above the soil line, and it looked really good. So because I have these ladder branches, maybe I need to keep some of these lower branches and kind of spread them out a bit. So I've got 2 lower branches coming from the same level here, which I don't think is a problem because, you know, it won't create a bulge here. These things just want to grow vertical. These will always stay as weaker branches. So I don't think having, you know, a bit of a whirl of branches is a problem on these redwoods. So I think I'll keep both of these lower branches, at least for now. And then I think this one's a good spacing. And then I think out of these 3 here, I need to do a bit of thinning. So I'll thin this one off, the one that's opposite here. So this one can go like that. So I get some staggering to the branches. And then it's a tough choice. If I've got two branches here. If I prune away the lower one, then I've got quite a space with no branching here. So I think I'm better to prune this upper one off. Like that. There's buds here, so it'll probably pop out new branches anyway. And then I'll take this one off. So I'm kind of staggering my branches, and I'll take this one off too. So that's kind of got the staggering. I can see there's branches forming all over the trunk. So I don't think branches will be a problem. Okay, that solves, a few of the problems on the tree. My next biggest decision is where to cut the tree. Here's an overall look at the tree. So the reason I need to cut the tree is if I don't, it's this high now. By next year it'll be double that or triple that if I let it grow unrestricted. If I try and keep it at this height by pruning, I think, all these upper branches will thicken up and I'll end up with an awkward looking tree. I think I need to do, a major prune to the trunk, regrow a new leader to try and get a little better taper also. I think the taper will come naturally on this tree, but I don't think it'll hurt to prune it off. So there's all kinds of buds all over the trunk here. So I could basically prune it anywhere and a new branch is going to grow and take over as the leader. So it all depends on, how small do I want to keep this tree, how much taper I want, how big do I want the tree, 5-10 years from now. Yeah, there's a lot of things to consider. Yeah, there's no shortage of buds all over the trunk. So I grew this tree in a tray of water over the summer, and it really kept it healthy. I was trying to water it without the tray of water, and it would dry out so fast that I'd have to be watering it like 5 times a day in summer. So the tray of water really, really helped. Well, the branches are quite slim up until this point, and then they start thickening up here. So I'm thinking of cutting it down to about here. That's what I'm thinking. I've got buds on the trunk each side here. There's one here. I think I'm going to go off right to here. Okay. Big cut coming up, and I'm going to cut it square. Here I go. Just like that. I can count how old this tree is from the rings. So it's 1, 2, 3 years old from seed. So there's what I'm left with. Yeah, it's definitely reduced the size of the tree. Now I do need to shorten these upper branches, so I'm going to look for buds on it. So at the base of this branch, there's about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's about 7 buds. So I can basically prune this branch off and it'll regrow new ones. I don't see any buds, on this branch until there's one here, there's one here, there's one here, and there's some out at the tip. So I'm going to totally remove that. I don't want to damage these buds here, so I'll leave a bit of a stump. Like that. On this branch, I've got 2 buds each side of the branch here, and I've got a bunch of buds at the base of the tree, so I'll prune it off right here. At the back, the same thing. I've got buds near the base, so I can pretty well prune it off anywhere. And then I'm trying to balance, the strength of the branches. So the only other one I think I'd want to touch is this one. And it's got a pair of buds here and a whole bunch closer to the trunk. So I'm going to take it off here. And I think that one's just a leaf. Yeah, so I think that's all the pruning on the tree for today. I will seal this cut up on the top with some rubber cement. Okay. That's done. The last thing I want to do is remove all this moss down here and just see what the surface roots are looking like. I'll get the tweezers and just start removing moss. Put liverwort in there. So I'll be repotting this tree in spring. And I thought, you know, in spring of this year, it started out as this little tiny seedling, and I kept it. I thought this pot would be about right for it, but it sure kind of quickly outgrew this pot. I was quite surprised at the amount of growth on this tree. It was quite incredible. So there's a root that's kind of wrapping around the trunk there. All this off. Yeah, there's roots growing up into the moss. There's roots on the underside of the pot, a mat of them. Yeah, the roots will grow anywhere there's moisture. So I will cut away that one root that's wrapping around the trunk here. I just got to find the base of it. And I won't use my good scissors. I use my older ones. Come in and prune that away. Like that. There's another one starting to wrap around there. Yeah, so I can see some surface roots. Some radial surface roots are forming, which is good. It'll help me get that muscular looking trunk eventually. Yeah, so that's it. That's the work on the Dawn Redwood for today. Let's clean up and have a final look at it. There's a good Blue Jay Bonsai carnage cam today. Yeah, I took a lot off the tree compared to what's left. Here is a final look at the tree. So I'm not sure if I'm doing the right thing with the tree or not. I think I am. It's my best guess. There's no rule book in growing these as miniature bonsai. So time will tell. We'll see how it develops in spring. Before we go today, let's have another look at my larch bonsai forest to check out the fall colors and see how they're progressing. Before we look at the larch, I'll show you the colors of my poplar tree here. The fall colors. They look spectacular. They're just fantastic. Oranges and yellows. Usually the leaves kind of look like this one with spots of black on it, but these upper ones, I guess because they're newer leaves, they grew after I pruned it, that they just look spectacular. So it's kind of nice to see that, you know, there's a chance of growing your poplars with spectacular fall colors on them. Here is the larch forest now. It's in the sun. It's got its nice fall colors on it. Yeah, it looks really, really cool. Yeah, I've got to enjoy the colors on it because they are starting to shed their needles. You can see them all over the moss here. So you've just got to enjoy the fall colors while they're there. And I certainly do. Last night it got below freezing, 1 degree below freezing. And tonight it goes 2 degrees below freezing. And then it warms up again. So the nice weather in fall continues. I can keep my tropicals out here in the greenhouse. As long as I have the heat on at night, they'll be fine. Last night it got down to 10 degrees Celsius in the greenhouse here, which is still fine for the tropicals. I've got all my more sensitive tropicals in the plant room where it's nice and warm. And the ones out here can take, you know, going down very close to freezing. So that's all for today. I'm Nigel Saunders. Thanks for joining me in the Bonsai Zone.